Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to talk you through our entire east coast of Australia, including Melbourne itinerary. So we've just spent the last month travelling the entire east coast, so let's break it down. I thought I'd make this video because I've been vlogging our entire trip, so I'll leave all my vlogs down below for you to go and watch if you are heading over to Australia or just if you want to see what we got up to. But I just would have found this so interesting before we came. I feel like I couldn't really find any vlogs or videos that were really kind of like informing me of how much people spend and the routes they did and kind of everything that came with it. So I thought I'd make this video to break it down. We're currently in Melbourne, so if you can hear any background noise of the tram, that's what that is. So yeah, let's get into the video. So to break it down, my boyfriend and I met about 4.5 years ago, and we discussed on our first date that we really wanted to travel to Australia. So I worked full-time as cabin crew and he was a bricklayer, and we both left our jobs to come and travel Australia just because we wanted to give ourselves the freedom, and we actually have come over here on working holiday visas, so we wouldn't have been able to stay in our jobs whilst also doing this, becoming employed whilst we're over in Australia. So to kick things off, if you're thinking of doing a working holiday visa, for a UK citizen, it is £319.35. So it's not cheap, but considering you're going to work and you get to stay in Australia for a year, that is, and then you have to apply for a second year and third year. And I'm going to tell you now, you don't have to do any of the working on farm anymore or anything like that. That was something that was in the past, but now UK citizens do not have to work on farms or do that any kind of that work. When it gets to 2 and 3 years, I think that might come back into play. I'm not sure, but I know for a fact first year you don't have to do any farm work or anything like that. It just shows you now is the time to come to us. So the route we planned, we knew we wanted to finish in Sydney. So as I'm making this video now, we are not yet in Sydney. We are literally flying there tomorrow and we're meeting friends. So we knew we had a whole month to do the east coast, and we also wanted to do Melbourne. So this is what we did. It made sense to us to start in the north first, and as we've met people along the way, it seems like it's kind of 70-30 to what people do. A lot of people seem to fly into Sydney and go up, but our route was Cairns and then down. So because for us, we knew we wanted to start in Cairns because we knew that was where a lot of the Great Barrier Reef is, and we just thought it would be a perfect starting point. We started looking at where we can fly from Heathrow, which is the most perfect airport for us from where we live in the UK, over to Cairns, and an airline that did a pretty good route was Singapore Airlines. Now, when I went to Bali in 2022, I flew with Singapore Airlines and found them amazing, found them faultless. One thing that we kept in mind when we were booking the flights was to book with an airline that would do both legs, because if for some reason one of your flights is delayed or cancelled, you're then in the airline's responsibility and they can book you onto a later flight, or basically it's just easier. So for our flights for one way, we paid about £800, just under £800, and we booked that, I want to say it was back in March or April time, so approximately 6 or 7 months. We set a price alert from about January to kind of see, and it was kind of going up, down. I think at one point it might have been about 700, but we thought, right, before it gets any higher, we do want to book them flights. We really loved flying with Singapore Airlines. We flew from Heathrow to Singapore and then Singapore to Cairns. That was with a 2-hour layover, which, you know what, was perfect. And we really loved doing it in the way where we had the long leg first, because then the next journey just felt really, really short and was like, oh, this is like nothing compared to the 14-hour flight. So yeah, it was a 14-hour flight, and then I believe it was a 6.5-hour flight. So by the time we got to our accommodation, I think we'd been from door to door, from leaving our house in the UK to getting to Cairns, I think it was about 28-29 hours, and it was so weird, but it actually worked out perfect because we landed about 5 p.m, got to our Airbnb, went to Mackey's. We literally said as soon as we're gonna get to Australia, we're gonna eat healthy, and the first thing we did when we got here was go to Mackey's. But do you know what, we needed the salt after the dehydration of the flight, so I'll take it. And then we went to bed that night, so it worked out quite well. Looking down our route quickly, we headed Cairns, then Magnetic Island, then to Airlie Beach. We then did a 2-day sailing tour around the Whitsundays, then on to Brisbane, then Sunshine Coast, Noosa. We did a Cairns day tour, which is the Fraser Island, then Gold Coast, Byron Bay, Melbourne, and then we're heading to Sydney tomorrow. So You're probably thinking, wait, have you not gone back on yourself? This sounds like a bizarre route, but this video is going to explain it and explain why it makes sense, so buckle up. So kicking off our trip on the east coast of Australia, we started in Cairns and we actually did 4 nights there. So it worked out pretty well for us because Cairns for us was about acclimatising. There's not a huge deal of things to do there, but we really wanted to do the Great Barrier Reef tour, and I'm so grateful we did. We headed out on one of the massive tour groups, and I'm going to link down below all the tour groups that we did. If you want to go and see more in depth, then make sure you watch the vlogs that are also linked down below. But yeah, that was so amazing. And when we were on the boat, we actually got the opportunity to do a helicopter ride, which was the coolest thing ever, and just that will live with me forever. I was sat in the front seat, and as a girl in aviation, like, that was just so cool to sit in the cockpit of the helicopter and fly around the Great Barrier Reef. I just absolutely loved it. We had our first chicken parm. If you don't know what chicken parm is, it is literally so good. The pub that I used to work at actually sells them, and then when I saw them, so I knew they were like an Australian delicacy, and then when I got here and tried it, I was like, this is good. So yeah, there's not a huge deal of things to do in Cairns, but it's a good starting point. I feel like it's a like soft introduction to Australia. It is hot and very tropical. I got bit like crazy, so I had to go and get some like tropical bug spray. Oh my god, it was all going on like my legs. I literally looked like I had chicken pox or something because I got bit so much. So definitely keep, it's because there's all the mangroves, so definitely keep applying your DEET and stuff like that. So from Cairns, we got our first Greyhound bus. So if you're thinking Greyhound, that sounds like a dog. In Australia, Greyhound is basically the main coach. It's basically like the National Express of the UK, and it's pretty good price. They've got some really good connections, and they actually do a lot of deals on their website. Their website itself is a bit rubbish. Like, they don't have an app. It's a very like basic website, but there's a lot of different options for booking. So you can actually book an East Coast tour, or you can book like an East Coast pass or whatever, but the pass that we did was where you basically book days. So we said, right, from the day we're leaving Cairns to the day we're leaving Byron Bay, because that is essentially the bulk of our trip where we're going to need these coaches, we're going to book the passes. So that was 21 days from our last day in Cairns to our last day in Byron. So we booked a 21-day tour, and that came to £177. So we did have some student discount on top of that. So if you know, you know, student discount. And yeah, we thought that was such a good deal, because literally like our journey from Cairns to Townsville was 4.5 hours. So like, that's such a good deal. £177. Like, the UK could never. I swear one National Express to like London from where I live is like at least like 30 quid. So the fact that we've like been able to use them, and the amazing thing is you can literally change your journeys. I think it's like up to an hour before. You can seat select, so you know exactly where you're gonna be sat. You're not like getting on the coach thinking, oh, am I gonna be sat next to my boyfriend, my partner? We actually were quite organised and booked our coaches on the 1st of July. So we headed out to Australia on the 1st of November. So that was July, August, September, October, 4 or 5 months in advance. So we were pretty proud because we managed to book the front row on all of our Greyhound buses. And let me tell you, the front row is where it's at, because you've got the extra legroom seats, and when you've got a 6'4" boyfriend, you need the extra legroom. Plus you can see the view, so you can literally just see all the scenes as they go past you. Like, it was so nice. And then you're the first off the bus as well, so it just felt really like nice and not like you're cramped. They have USBs on there, and a top tip, I did put this in one of my videos on my socials, but make sure you get an adapter. If you've got a newer iPhone and you've got a USB-C, get a USB-C to USB adapter so you can put it and charge your phone on all your flights and on the coaches. So next on the list, we got to Townsville, which is actually such a nice place, but it's kind of one of them places that people miss out because you kind of go through it. And the reason we were going through it was because we were heading on to Magnetic Island. Magnetic Island was one of my favourite parts of the trip, and it just like felt so special. So we stayed there for a total of 2 nights, and we got the Sea Link ferry, which is literally next to the Greyhound bus stop in Townsville. Like, you literally just walk across the road. Then you get on the ferry, and you don't have to book a time. So if you're late, if you're early, you just get on there. It's £21. and it takes about half an hour, if that, takes you over to Nelly Bay, which is on Magnetic Island. From there, there's literally the best bus service ever. It literally just goes round this island, just in like a big U, and in Queensland, which is basically the most of the east coast you're going to travel, apart from Byron Bay, Sydney and Melbourne. All of the transport, the buses, are only 25p. Yes, that's right, 25p, 50 cents. Like, it's actually insane. And if you're not sure on the conversion rate, basically everything in Australia is like double the price of the UK. So £10 UK is $20. So it's just really easy. You just cut everything in half. And like the girl maths, like when Jack and I go to Aldi and we pay $20, that's £10, but then £5 each, and it just feels like so cheap. So yeah, round Magnetic Island, it was perfect. We got the bus and we actually went and stayed at our first hostel, my first ever hostel, and we used a mixed dorm, and you know what, it was fine. We stayed at Bounce. It's quite a new hostel. I can't remember what it used to be called, but we found it fine. It's quite a like outdoorsy one. Like you're basically in like huts, and there's also a campsite attached to it. There's a lot of animals there. There was kookaburras stealing everyone's dinner, but I think that is just the whole of Magnetic Island, to be fair. You're really close to Picnic Bay, which is like one of the main beaches. You can literally walk there from Bounce, and the bus stop literally is outside Bounce. So the next day we actually went and rented a car. I am going to tell you this now, and I said this in my vlog already, but make sure you pre-book a car. If you're British, right, and you hold a full UK driving license, you can pre-book the car. The websites of some of these car dealerships were all over the place and confusing us so much. We were literally on ChatGPT, we were on Reddit, like, what is going on? Because they were telling us that you had to have an international driving license to be able to rent from them. So we were like, well, we don't have an international driving license, let's just see on the day. And ended up turning up to the rentals, and turns out you didn't need an international driving license because you have a British driving license. So all the cars were gone, and we went to the first rental place, they didn't have anything. Second rental place, they didn't have anything. So we had to go to the third place, and then we finally got a car. So it just wasted so much time, really. At the end of the day, is what it is, and we know now, and it's one of them stories like we can tell. But if you hold a full UK driving license, you do not need an international driving license for rental. Obviously other places may be different, but at Magnetic Island you do not need one. Essentially they were saying to us is because they can read a British license, so you don't need an international one. So save yourself the money and you don't need it. But we were just literally like, this is so exhausting. We were saying to the people, you need to change your website because it probably puts off so many people. So anywho, we ended up going to a dealership called Arcadia. Now it's a bit shabby chic, and the car was, I didn't drive it, Jack drove it. He said it was a little bit rubbish, but it did the job. It was one of them cars that like, it was just like an old Jeepy kind of thing. I'll insert a picture somewhere. It was a bit of a rubbish drive, but you know what, a beat up car, it goes with the vibe. So we used that to drive around. Make sure you watch my Magnetic Island vlog to see everywhere that we went. So after 2 days on Magnetic Island, we got the Sea Link ferry back, and then we walked around Townsville. So we had a couple of hours to kill before it was time for our next Greyhound bus, and we saw these massive lockets. They were only £5 each for us to leave our massive suitcases, and we have like big suitcases. We left them in there and we just walked around, and do you know what, it is so beautiful there. There's this massive mound there and it's just so picturesque. Like I feel like it's one of them like more residential towns, not tourist, and it was just so nice to walk around. So I would recommend that. Like, don't just sit around waiting for the bus, definitely go and have a walk, put your stuff in a locker. The lockers were so easy to use, and yeah, it's just, do you know what, Australia just gets it so right. Like the bus station and the train station or the ferry terminal are always so close together. You don't have to be getting Ubers or taxis, so love that. So the next destination for us was on to Airlie Beach. Oh my goodness, we loved it there, and we instantly were like, I wish we had longer here. So it was about a 4.5 hour coach journey from Townsville down to Airlie Beach, and oh, it was just so cool. When we were there was actually a festival on, so it was just so buzzing. We stayed in the most amazing Airbnb. It was literally just up the road, and we just got the bus ride there. So we saw a bit of the city in the evening. It's got such a good nightlife, by the way. Like, I would definitely stay at a hostel down there. I think there was a Nomads down in Airlie Beach, and I just want to go back again. Like, that's the one place I'm like, I wish we had longer there. Such nice shops. Definitely comes with a bit more of a price tag, but it is really, really cute. So yeah, the Airbnb we stayed in, I'm going to link down below, it was with the most sweet people ever, and so fun. So the next day we woke up bright and early because we were heading on our 2-night Whitsundays tour. So one thing we thought we have to do, and everyone always says, make sure you do a sailing tour, and we did a 2-night one, and we went with the company Ozsail, and the boat was called Spank Me, which is basically an old sailing term. Like, it's like a racing term, so it's nothing weird, it's not a party one. And it was such a nice group of people. The people that ran it were nice. The food was amazing, like so good. We were always fed. There's no showers. Basically, there's 2 toilets between 30 people, and there's basically like hoses that you get a minute a day to like wash yourself off with. It's not the nicest experience because it's so hot on the boat. There's no fans, no aircon, so it is kind of living a little bit rough, but I think it's all part of the experience. The sleeping was hard because it was hot, and you can't take your mattress at the top, so you just end up sleeping in your own sweat. So that's kind of what it is, but it was so fun. So we sailed around the first day and snorkeled. Then the second day we went to Whitehaven Beach, and let me tell you, this tour is the one you want to do if you want to be the first people on Whitehaven Beach, which is known as the world's best beach. So we got there, I think it was like 6 in the morning, yeah, like 6:30, and our group were the first people on the beach. So it was just so amazing. And apparently Whitehaven Beach, like the island that it's on, is like the most deadly square foot or something. I can't remember the phrase he said now. It was like has the most deadly animals per square foot. So we were like really scared because we were the first people on the morning and going up these trails, and we were like, please can there be no snakes in the way? Luckily everyone came out fine. So for that boat, it was our most expensive tour. It was £274, but you know what, I would do it again, and it was good. But the next morning we got back to the port about 8 AM, and I know a lot of the other tours get back a lot later, so if you've got an early flight like we had or something like that, I would recommend this tour. So we headed back to Airlie Beach. We freshened up because our Airbnb people let us in to have a shower, which was so nice. They also let us store our bags there, because when you go on these boat tours you can't take any luggage, like lots of luggage. You just can take like a little shoulder bag or whatever, no really suitcases, so that's one thing to bear in mind. We just got some bags off Amazon just to take, like kind of like gym bags, duffel bags. Then we headed to the airport. So yeah, there's an airport in the Whitsundays called the Whitsundays Airport. It's tiny, and we got our first flight. So this is the hack, okay? Flying from the Whitsundays to Brisbane, it saves so much time and energy because you don't have to do a 12-hour bus journey. It's literally a 90-minute flight, and it only costs £95. So it's a no-brainer. You get your 23 kilograms of luggage. We used Virgin Australia, and it was amazing, to be fair. Like, my boyfriend is tall, and these buses, they're not like sleeper buses like you get in Thailand or anything like that. They're the normal Greyhound coaches, and like 12 hours on that, I think not. So I just don't know why more people don't know about this, but that was the biggest hack that we did. So we flew down to Brisbane, and I recommend sitting on the left hand side of the plane because we've got the coolest views. Like, Brisbane, we had such a good time in Brisbane. Like, we did so much and loved it. So Brisbane, of course, is not too far away from Australia Zoo. So whilst we were there, we of course had to do it. That's Steve Irwin's zoo, where his son Robert Irwin is, and Bindi Irwin, and it was just the best day ever. So we paid £88.85 to go to the zoo and also have a shuttle from the city. So there was multiple pickup points. Again, I'll put the link down below, but we just found there to be like no straightforward way of getting there other than getting a shuttle. So I would recommend that. We had a full day at the zoo, and it was just the coolest thing ever. Like, so amazing. I'd recommend going straight to the kangaroos straight away, like when you get there, so you can give them some food that you can pick up from the tuck shop, because you're going to be the first people to get the interactions with the kangaroos, and they're going to want your food because they're hungry. So top tip there. Also in Brisbane, again, you can watch the video to see everything we did, but we wandered around the South Bank. We also went to this place called The Star, which is like a brand new hotel, and I swear I just didn't see any of this when I was doing my research. Like, you know when you just stumble across things and you're like, I didn't even know this existed. It's got a great metro system there in Brisbane, so yeah, it's quite easy to get around. Then next, what we did, we actually went back on ourselves and we went up to the Sunshine Coast because some of Jack's relatives live there. So we spent a few days in the Sunshine Coast in Mooloolaba, oh, I still can't say it, Mooloolaba, that's it, Mooloolaba. And it is such a nice place. If you're looking for a place to chill a little bit more, kind of have that quieter beach, quieter atmosphere, I would recommend staying there because it was just so beautiful when we were there. And they have this place called the Burbeck Waterfall and it was so cool, so add that to your list. From there we went up to Noosa, and Noosa is again one of the more expensive places. It's a bit more like Airlie Beach and it comes with a price tag, but we stayed in a nice Airbnb. There's a lot around there, it's all in quite close proximity. You can walk, or again the bus is really good to get around. And Noosa there's not a lot to do there apart from sit and chill, that's what we found. But the reason we were staying in Noosa was because we were doing a Kagari day tour. So when it came to planning our Australia adventure, Kagari, which is also formerly known as Fraser Island, was the thing that was presenting a challenge to us because we knew we had to do it because it's such a big part of Australia. For those that don't know, it's 75 miles of beach and it's basically just quite untouched land. There's a small village of people that live there, but you've got things like Lake Mackenzie and you've got this natural creek, and there's also an ex-military sunken ship, so it's one of them things you've just got to see when you're in Australia. But we just didn't want to do the camping on the island. There's wild dingoes, and we just, after the 2 days Whitsunday, it was, for us it was kind of the Whitsundays or the Kagari trip, because we were like, at the end of the day, budget, it's gonna be quite a lot of money. A lot of them we saw were just like 300-400 quid for 2 days camping, and we just couldn't really justify it. It is quite cool because you go in a convoy of like jeeps and that, and if you want to do that, it did look amazing. But for us, doing a day tour did work really well. So we had to meet our tour guide at 5:30. Then we basically went in like a kind of hybrid coach over to Rainbow Beach, where we jumped on the vans to take us for the day. There was about 16 of us in each van, and yeah, we headed to those locations over the island. I'm not going to recommend the brand we went with just because there was quite a few problems. We paid about £150 each, and let's just say we literally got a sandwich and a cup of tea, and yeah, it was just not, the actual island was amazing and we loved it, but I think we were just let down by the actual tour itself. And like, I actually went away from Kagari not knowing pretty much anything about the island, so it was just a bit disappointing. So I'm not going to recommend who we went with, but yeah, definitely just read reviews before you go, and make sure you're happy with who you're choosing as your provider. So next location, we headed back down south and we headed to the Gold Coast. So we got a Greyhound bus from Noosa to Brisbane, then we got straight on another bus over to the Gold Coast, and we love the Gold Coast. It was so cool there. So that's Surfers Paradise, it's where H2O is filmed. I've still never seen that. I wish I watched it before I came, but there's a lot to do there. Just walking around, it's a little bit more commercial. We were actually there when Schoolies was on, which is basically like Freshers, but the opposite of Freshers because they've not got to uni, they're leaving school. So you can just imagine there's a lot going on essentially. And we went up to the Sky Deck, which was really cool. It's an observatory. I'd recommend booking through trip.com because it's about £11 British pounds to go up there. That was really cool. I think in total, from getting from Noosa to Gold Coast, it was about a 3-hour journey, so not too bad. 3.5 hours. And we also went to Bali. That was an amazing place, got to see. And yeah, because we were still in Queensland just about, it was all still 50p for it was all still 25p for all the trams and buses. So yeah, Bali's really cool, and this is where I found some really good finds in the op shop. So basically over here, charity shops are called op shops, and Jack's relatives, one of them actually runs one. So I've literally loved op shops, and every time I see one I go into one because they're just so good over here. Next location for us was Byron Bay. So I feel like when people think of Australia or think of planning their trip, they hear of Byron Bay or think of Byron Bay. So scary. I looked at my phone and it stopped recording and my phone had died. So we're back, and luckily the video saved because I thought I was on a roll, so that would have just been such a shame if it had not saved, but thank God for that. So Byron Bay, yeah, we did 4 nights there. And yeah, it was so cool. We stayed at YHA hostel. So the hostel itself is quite close to the Greyhound bus. It's close to an Aldi, a Woolworths, a cinema, and Byron Bay itself is actually quite small, so it's in like a good location of everything. The hostel itself is really lovely. It isn't too social just because a lot of people live there, and we actually had an issue on check-in because we were put in different rooms when we booked this hostel back in July. So we were a bit like, oh well, no thank you, and they sorted it out for us by giving us a big discount, and we got our own room, so that was really nice. We ended up getting a private room, but I think because a lot of people live there, they don't have a lot of flexibility of moving people around. So yeah, I think that is kind of why. So it's probably something to keep in mind if there's like a big group of you or anything. So yeah, Byron Bay was amazing. It's so nice just going down to the beach, watching people surf. We did the lighthouse walk, that was fun. It takes about an hour from our hostel all the way to the top and an hour back down, and we were stopping and getting drinks of water, and so yeah, it's not bad at all. It's also worth noting the Palace Cinema, which is quite close to the hostel. On Mondays, it's only $12 to watch a film, and we watched Wicked there, so yeah, it was really good. Only £6, can't beat it. And popcorn and a drink as a combo was only £5, $10, so we were really, really impressed. Next on our itinerary was leaving Byron Bay, getting a Greyhound bus up to Gold Coast Airport and flying to Melbourne. So we got the Greyhound and it's about 45 minutes. Now when you go to Byron Bay, because you're heading into New South Wales, you actually change time zone, so it's an hour ahead of everywhere in Queensland, like Gold Coast. So it is a little bit confusing, and I think the Australians will argue about it a lot, it seems, but the daylight saving over here is really bizarre. So just be careful when you're booking flights, because we had gone back an hour, so we were getting a bit confused over the time, so just make sure you know about that. So it was about a 2 hour and 20 minute flight and only cost us £68.15 to get over to Melbourne. And let me tell you, Melbourne is like nowhere we have been in Australia. Like the climate, the temperature is so different, because underneath us is literally Antarctica. Is that it? Antarctica? Yeah, it must be, right? South Pole, all that, that's below us. It's cold, the winds are cold, and it's just like being in the UK. Like it's like being in like Bristol or Manchester. Like it's quite built up, there's a lot of culture, but we love it, it's fun. There's a lot of history here. You have to go to the State Library, that's really cool. That's where there's the dome. There's a lot of free things to do here, and there's actually a free tram, the number 35, that runs through the city, and it's basically in like a clockwise circle around the city, so that's really cool to see as well. There's a place called Kilda Beach here. We've not actually been to it just because the weather has been really rainy, but I've heard that is amazing too. We went to a place called A Float, which is basically a floating pontoon on the Yarra River, and it is so cool. Like really, really nice. If you've got a Friday, Saturday, or any night here that you just want to get dressed up, have some dinner and drinks, I would recommend that too. So tomorrow we will be flying on to Sydney, which I'm so excited about, and because we're here on our working holiday visas, we're meeting some friends and we're living out here for a little bit, so super excited to kind of start that new life and to not live out of a bag for a little bit. So yeah, that is the next stage for us. I'm now going to go through some costs and break things down just to give people a rough idea of how much we've spent, because actually we really over budgeted, which is, I mean, a good thing really, but we thought we would have spent a lot more by now and actually haven't. The visas and all the flights for us each came to £1,359.80. So obviously flights are going to fluctuate a little bit depending on who you go with, but I think that's a pretty average price. We didn't go too expensive with anything, so yeah, that's a bit of the budget gone. All of our Airbnbs and the 2 hostels that we stayed in total came to £1,900. So for the whole month, that is how much we paid, which pretty happy with. I think it's worked really well for us not staying in hotels, because obviously we've saved so much money on food by cooking. As I outlined earlier, our Greyhound coaches cost us £177.79. Adding on the magnetic island ferry as well, our total transport cost has come up to just under £200. So we're really proud of that. That's not including little Ubers and trams and stuff, but genuinely on all of our Ubers and transport and everything like that, we probably spent £50 each. So if we rounded up the transport to, let's say, £250, I think that would be a fair estimate. With all of the tours and excursions that we have done, including the Whitsundays tour, the Kagari tour, Great Barrier Reef tour, the car rental on Magnetic Island, Australia Zoo, we came to a total of about £650. So again, we were pretty happy with that, considering that's all the main things and kind of the things that you look forward to. I think that's a good budget. So I'll put the total up on the screen here because I actually don't know, but that is how much we have spent up to this point. And we set ourselves a budget of £30 per day, and we found that was enough, so we limited down to £20 a day, and it's been really, really easy to spend that. Just cutting out kind of that morning coffee that you would maybe get, because you don't need that every day, and starting to have them coffees from home. That's the way we've saved. But yeah, I also wanted to mention the fact that I know there's a lot of different tour groups out there, and I do think they're amazing. We kind of looked at itineraries of different tour groups and thought, right, what do we like from this? What do we want to pick from this? And kind of did it ourselves, and actually have ended up saving ourselves so much money. So I think it's great if you want to go and meet people and you want it all planned for you. But if you kind of want to plan and make the trip just how you want and something that's going to fit with you and do things at your own speed and work things out for yourself, I would totally recommend doing it the way we've done it. I think it's kind of your unconventional route that we've done, but it worked for us, and I really hope it works for someone else, and this helps anyone out that is heading to Australia. If you are heading out to Australia or the East Coast, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, because I am going to be here for a little while longer and going to be recording everything. I've also linked down below my Instagram and my TikTok, where I'm really active every day, just documenting our life over here. So yeah, I really hope you guys have enjoyed, and if you have any questions, please put them down below, and I'll put as much information as I can possibly down below. Also, make sure you go back and watch our series as we travelled the east coast of Australia. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video. Bye.